Dodging a Divorcee episode, as we're doing today.
Presenting Benny Goodman and his
Well, there's
orchestra.
anything wrong with being a divorcee. Welcome along, everybody. Here we go. Well, to begin with, I'm going to pregame a second. Hang on 1 second. Pregame a little bit of Heaven's Door here. So I don't think there's too much alcohol in the cocktail I intend to make to start with. Hey Eric, hey Karen,
Benny Goodman and his
hey
orchestra.
Martin and Gladys.
Playing for you from the Joseph Urban Room of the Congress Hotel in downtown Chicago. Dodging a Divorcee, the first number. Benny Goodman and his orchestra.
Evening Martin, evening Gladys. Octavio. Hey, Mary. Hey, Cindy. Is there going to be a handshake? I'd probably shake his hand, but hey, you ever see that movie Mallrats? Hey, Mary. Hey, Cindy. Hey, Vicky. All the cats say hello to you as well. Hey, Evelyn. Nope. Hey, Robert. Leah, David. Well, that's all pregame. A little shall we? Evening, Uncle Lair. Hey, Sarah. Heather and Marie, Geraldine, Paula. Anybody else I might have missed there? Welcome along. Step right up. Come on, step right up. Step right up. Hey, Bala. And hey, Lorena. Hey, Timothy. I'm not sure where the cats are right now. Miles. Miles was last seen in a laundry basket, but he'll be here soon for sure. Hey, Lorena. Hey, Laura, you better believe it. Is it really? I don't feel like it counts as a presidential debate when it's a president debating a convicted felon lunatic. Hey, Kathleen. I normally don't miss presidential debates, but that's just not what's going on. 45 is low. So I'll keep my blood pressure down a little bit here. And hop on over, everybody. We are going to get hopped up on Mountain Dew cocktails in a minute here.
The Divorcee successfully, and we might say...
Hey, Debbie,
perfectly
ACL.
alluded. Benny Goodman presents Helen Ward singing The Day I Let You Get Away.
Often if I mess with the windows, he comes running to see. Hey, Hispanic. Yo, right back. Hey, Megan. It has been a week. Yeah, let us all. We were going to hop into Fool Killers just shortly here. What if we encounter a shark in the Fool Killer? Will we just grab the battery, or will we beat the shit out of the shark? Evening, Sarah in Omaha. Normally he hears this and comes. Hey Kathleen, we're glad to have you pop in. I'll turn that. Yeah, that's about music's a little bit louder than normal right now. I will turn that down. I'm kind of pre-gaming here with some Heaven's Door 10-year bourbon. It is delicious. Since we last met, I've been on a road trip. I intended to go to a Bob Dylan concert. I ended up going to 2 of them. It happens. Hey, Gene, over in the hot tub. That sounds nice. Yeah, you got me one of them, too. Octavio. I put my all that I was using on the thing. Yeah, here we go. Hey, you got me one, too. Hey, Kathleen. Boys and girls, ladies and gentlemen, those beyond the binary. And here comes Miles himself. The man of the hour, clothed in immense power. Here you go, Miles. Miles, why is your tail wet? Do I want to know? Have you been playing in the tub? Is that what you've been doing? Alright, you've made your appearance. The contract is fulfilled. He'll probably hop back up in a sec.
Music
Miles, you coming up or what?
Orchestra. The next tune, Sandman.
Here he comes, yeah. Hey, Chris. Hey, Robert. Hey, Gladys. Now, Miles actually enjoys getting wet. Getting wet means he has to get dry. He loves getting dry. Let me find you a little towel, Miles. Yeah. Guess what? Oh, you should hear him purring as I do this. Hey, Diane. That is Bette Midler in the photo, Debbie. Performing at a bathhouse in the 70s. We'll see you later. Speaking of the 70s, great line from Kinky Friedman, R.I.P., said there's a line between reality and unreality, and I believe I snorted that line in 1976. Oh, he purrs and purrs when he gets dried off. Don't you, Miles? Hey, Beth. Hey, Eileen. Get you a carpet sample up on that shelf. I mean, that's in my mind. We're gonna do that. Real quick. As we pregame a little bit. Hey, everybody. Okay. We all know Miles is the real star around here. That's where he gets the big bucks. All right. Yeah, we all know who the star is here. It's Miles. I try to keep a lot of open shelf space for him so he has stuff to jump on and lie on.
Joseph Urban of the Congress Hotel in downtown Chicago, and his next tune.
The others aren't as big on climbing as Miles is. They get into beds, they get under chairs. You want a tummy rub? Is that what you want? I was going to turn around here so you can all see just how adorable this guy is being here. Evening, Kristen. Hey, Karen. Diane, always worth repeating. I went to the fest, but I don't think there's any version of a fest like that, no matter what we were celebrating, that I wouldn't have run from. Well, not run. I hung around a while, but it was loud, and I was very tired, very crowded, but not a concert. So, not exactly my scene, no matter what the celebration is for. But I had some friends who wanted me to come out. I came out for them. Lynn, that is Bette Midler in the picture. The girl kitties, Priya and Lily, are, last I saw, they were in the dining room. Can we go see them? I haven't gotten hopped up on Mountain Dew just yet, but while Miles is lying here purring and being almost obnoxiously cute. Let's see. Lily and Priya. Well, Priya just ran when she heard me coming. Lily was last seen over in the orange chair. Oh, here's Lily. Lily went for some food, I guess. They're not as camera happy as Miles, so I try not to... Try not to push things on them. Yeah, Lily's actually the oldest of the cats. But she's the newest to come in here. Good evening, Kathy. Miles turned 1 right about as we started these things. Hey, Jill. We're gonna let Benny Goodman finish up this tune. Then we will get started. Those of you trying to go back and forth between this and the debate, I salute you. I drink to you.
And again, Benny Goodman presents his Lady of Song, Helen Ward singing Alone.
All right, everybody. So, welcome along. I think it is time we get started here with the theme song.
Climb aboard, cause you don't know exactly where or when we'll go. Chicago 1893, or the Gilded Age in NYC. Blast off into outer space, drink till you're flat on your face. From the comfort of your home, so if you puke alone, one day we'll even find that place in France.
Not late at all, Jordana.
And don't come crying to us if you pee your pants. Time travel, pub crawl. Time travel, pub crawl. Time travel, pub crawl. Yeah!
Welcome along, everybody. Hey, here's the Fool Killer out a little bit early. So, welcome along. I'm Adam from Mysterious Chicago Tours, and while I'm thinking about it, I need to hear from the Mystericon committee. Where are we meeting this year? Do we have the Joseph Urban Room? I'm meeting with some planners and some event people. I want to make this as awesome as it can possibly be. I got to talk to the boat again, too. They're being really tricky with me on the old boat. But hey, that is all for another time. We are here to party tonight and keep our mind off of everything going on as we do while I do research on all kinds of stuff. Today, I realized something very important. This is really exciting for me. Genealogy Bank now, all of a sudden, within the last couple of months, has added a few years of the New York American. This is big. I mean, I still have to get the microfilm reels because I think they only have 1 edition per day instead of like 12 editions per day like is on the reel. But still, while I was going through the microfilms here in Chicago the other day, we came upon April of 1912 and started looking up how the Titanic was reported, leading us to this morning's mini tour. There is an outstanding legend that when the New York American went to press, it was all about Colonel Astor. It was like, then down at the bottom they mentioned, oh yeah, in 1800 other people are dead. But now we can look right up and see that he was in fact in the headline, but nothing else about him on the front page. You also have to ignore the entire headline and pretty much everything except the subhead for that. So there was an outsized amount of coverage for him, but not quite as bad as is sometimes claimed. So anyway, just getting a little bit distracted here before we start making drinks. I'm Adam Seltzer, author of Mysterious Chicago, the book, Flickering Empire, How Chicago Invented the U.S. Film Industry, H.H. Holmes, The True History of the White City Devil, Murder Maps USA, new from Thames and Hudson Press, Graceland Cemetery, Chicago's Stories, Symbols, and Secrets, and Just Kill Me, a novel about a ghost tour guide who makes places more haunted by killing people at them. Realized yesterday they have several copies of this over at the Chicago History Museum gift shop, and basically no other store on the planet, I don't believe. Not exactly one of my bigger hits, but not that I'm complaining. So anyway, there's some stuff going on tonight. I know that we got a lot of competition between us and I think we're going to be a little bit more fun than anything else that is going on television tonight. I will just watch the recaps later. But I thought we would get, if I needed it, hopped up on Mountain Dew for tonight's tour. So what we're going to do is I'm just experimenting here. I did not try this one ahead of time, but this is a time travel pub crawl. This is a virtual pub crawl, and we'll have suggestions of drinks that you can make along the way. But we're going to start here with some orange curacao. You know, it's a nice orange liqueur. And then we are going to get it hopped up on Mountain Dew and drown the orange. So, I believe it was Kevin McCarthy said Biden would be hopped up on Mountain Dew tonight, which is, legal anyway. So we're going to take that and drown this. And just to be extra cool, I'm just kind of experimenting here. Let's see how this tastes all right. I haven't tested this at all. Megan, I am really glad to hear that. I didn't know if anybody would ever read the Charles Dickens novel. I beat up Charles Dickens. But we are going to top this off. This is pretty tasty as it is. Orange curacao and Mountain Dew mixed very well. I'm not having a whole bottle of it. I don't want to be up all night either. But we are going to crank this up one more notch. Bam! With a little bit of jalapeno limeade. So we're going to call this Bury the Orange. For no particular reason tonight. That is really tasty. I'm a genius. All right, everybody. Genius, ladies and gentlemen, is here to take you on a time travel pub crawl. So, for the early days of the pandemic, we started doing these virtual tours. We thought, hey, it would be fun to do a virtual pub crawl since nobody can go to bars safely right now. So we also reasoned that since this is a virtual pub crawl, we can go anywhere in time or space. The only question is, how do we get there? 1915, they pulled the wreck of what appeared to be a 40-foot-long homemade submarine out of the Chicago River, put it on display under the name The Fool Killer. For a dime, you could see the submarine and the dead guy they claimed to have found on board the thing. It disappears from the record somewhere around 1916, but we found it. It was in the couch tomb. And so now we also turn out that this is not just a submarine that'll take you all through the shark-infested waters. It will also go through time or space. It slices, it dices, also makes julienne fries. It'll even sort your baseball cards. So we are going to take this around to a time travel pub crawl. So this is the end of Pride Month. Of course, we are for Pride all year long, but we had a request to do this particular one. I kind of forgot that we did a time travel pub crawl to Pride-themed stuff, but I still have the deck. Now, this is, for the most part, a clip show. A lot of these are places that we've been before, because we're not the kind of company that only goes in for such things in June, but a lot of these are things you might have seen before, but we've tried to mix in some different musical performances, so lots and lots and lots of cool stuff coming tonight. I highly recommend this drink, the hopped up on Mountain Dew Drown the Orange. Well, all right. That's very citrusy. So, all right, we are going to start by going to New York City. New York City, but of course, back in the past of New York. One place that nobody seems to be able to pinpoint exactly where this stood, but it was around 26 East Houston Street, was a place called Harry Hill's Variety Theater. Matthew Hale in 1868 wrote that the room was full of thieves, pickpockets, prize fighters, bullies, short boys, and denizens of the bloody Sixth, females of all grades, shoplifters, counterfeiters, women just out of the state prison, panel thieves, and females whose trade it is to get employment in houses as domestics only to commit robbery. By the side of a police sergeant sits a panel thief. By the side of a Broadway jeweler sits a noted shoplifter. A lawyer of repute can be seen drinking with a prize fighter, and respectable businessmen mingle cozily with desperate New York males and females. Does this place sound like a party or what? It is one of few places you could go to in New York in the 1860s where you would see interracial couples dancing and no one particularly cared. Also, by all accounts, same-sex couples. And people who would probably identify today as transgender or any number of other things. This was a place where anybody could pretty much be themselves and get in a prize fight. Mark Twain came to visit one time and said after some musical numbers came a man who mimicked fighting cats and the buzzing of mosquitoes and the squealing of a pig. Then a homely young man in a Highland costume entered upon the stage and danced, and he ought to have danced moderately because he had nothing in the wide world on but a short coat and short stockings. This was apparent every time he whirled around. However, no one observed it but me. I knew that because several handsomely dressed young ladies from 13 to 16 and 17 years of age went and sat down under the footlights, and of course they would have moved away if they had noticed that he was only partly dressed. So Harry Hill's Variety Theater. This place attracted a lot of press attention in New York back in the 19th century, like the kind of place where geniuses went to hang out. And some of the pictures, it looks more respectable than in others. Now, here's a nice drawing of it from the New York Public Library, showing the kind of people who hang out there. These are, it was a combination dance hall and boxing ring. We don't have a lot of those anymore. We really should. But here we've got some people drinking. There's one guy who brought his little dog here. And here's an interesting thing. While they're watching the fight, there's a guy you can see here having a drink at Harry Hill's. We'll zoom in on this dude. He is drinking something we can identify by the straw as a sherry cobbler. Sherry cobbler you can make at home by taking a half glass of dry sherry, a little bit of grenadine, some frozen fruit, chopped ice, and fruit juice. Kind of like a daiquiri. Now, this was written up in Martin Chuzzlewit, a Charles Dickens book that I think everybody should read, but nobody does. Mr. Tapley, one of Dickens' greatest characters, let's just read how Dickens describes it. If you should ever happen to be dead beat, go and fetch a cobbler, and it will make you in every particular worth mentioning another man. And here Mark Tapley plunged a reed into the mixture, which caused a pleasant commotion among the pieces of ice, and signifying by an expressive gesture that it was to be pumped up through that agency by the enraptured drinker. Straws were very unusual at the time. They called them a reed, you might have noticed. So this was a very popular drink at the time, one of the most popular cocktails of its age. So you could go to Harry Hill's, you could dance with pretty much anybody, you could dress however you wanted to be, you could be whoever you wanted to be, you could have a sherry cobbler, and you could watch such things as a guy dancing wearing pretty much nothing but a short coat that showed his slung. Or you could see Mrs. Partington, a ventriloquist doll, who, from transcripts of her act, sounds a lot like Amelia Bedelia. It's a whole lot of malapropisms. I just think this is terrific, that you could go to this place full of all of these prize fighters and shoplifters and people just out of prison. You would read them a Amelia Bedelia book, and they would think you were the funniest mofo on the planet. One guy that I don't believe performed there, but would have fit right in, is a guy named Joseph Pujol Le Petalman. Now, he was a fartist. We'll just demonstrate here. He would go... We got to put the soundtrack in ourselves. But by all accounts, his farting was absolutely top-notch. He could fart out songs, etc. Amazingly, there is some footage of him. Unfortunately, it is only silent footage of him. And why is Siri picking me up when I say that? I do not know. All right, so anyway, that is Harry Hill's Variety Theater. Lepatome. Let us move on now. This is how we go blasting through time and space. All right, we're going to end up ourselves in Paris. See how fast we got to Paris from New York? We've also moved up about 30 years into history here, and we are going to Gertrude Stein's apartment, the 27 Arts Building. Inside of here, Gertrude Stein lived along with her wife, Alice B. Toklas, pictured here, who is also generally credited as being the inventor of the pot brownie, where they entertained such people as Bertha Palmer when she came through town, visited all sorts of local artists here at 27 Rue de Fleurs, where they lived for many years. This became sort of a salon, a hangout, a bar in and of itself for artists passing through. Also, very clearly, given that it was Gertrude Stein and Alice B. Toklas, a queer-friendly hangout. But of course, our guy to meet here is Ernest Hemingway, who came here a bit himself.
Ahoy there. Pull up a chair. Match my wits, or at least my liver.
I've been to a lot of bars that claim you drink there, Ernest. The first time I've actually run into you. Are those claims true?
I'd say they were lying, but who can remember? Good chance I was at all of them.
What happened to your hair?
Jungle Trek, the Amazon. Spiders the size of coconuts. Locals say they get in your hair, I say shave it off. Don't let hair stand in your way of living.
Okay.
Want to arm wrestle? Worth it just to say you did.
Let's just have some drinks.
Drinks it is then.
Yeah.
Daiquiris, my style. Rum, maraschino liqueur, grapefruit juice, and lime juice. I drink one, you drink one, we repeat until the bar runs out of rum.
I'll have one, but I still got a tour to run.
More for me.
All right, I'll just be here hopped up on Mountain Dew. Ernest Hemingway, everybody. So welcome along, everyone. Those of you just joining us now, I'm Adam from Mysteria Chicago Tours. We're on a virtual time travel pub crawl. People sometimes don't realize that there have always been queer-friendly places, and that's kind of where we're going right now. In fact, why don't we go back home to Chicago? There was a vibrant scene in Chicago going back to the 1920s, the 30s, the Jazz Age. Terrific book by James Cleese called I'll Take Everything You Have, a young adult novel that is all about the queer scene in Chicago back in the 1930s. So we are going to make our way through hyperspace. Find ourselves on the Magnificent Mile. Sweet Home Chicago. Now this, of course, is modern Chicago from just the last few years. You can see the Bloomingdale's building over there, down at the end of the Magnificent Mile. But for our purposes, we're coming to this place right around here on Ohio Street and Michigan Avenue. Or eventually. I filmed this very, very early on. Right over here where the Under Armour store is now. There's no ghosts here, just people buying moisture-wicking underpants. But this was the home of the Wind Blew Inn, a known queer establishment from the 1920s. Also just a place where genius types hung out, not unlike the Harry Hills of Chicago a couple of generations later. Let's see if we can make it past the bouncer here.
Whoa, whoa, whoa. Where do you think you're going?
Looking for the Wind Blew Inn.
Wind Blew Inn? I may have heard of it.
The sign above the door says Wind Blew Inn.
All right, smart guy.
Hey, you look familiar.
You never saw me. You're not seeing me now, understand? What do
Yeah,
you want?
we're just looking for something strong to drink.
We don't serve booze. That's illegal. Only serve tea, 75 cents.
That's like $20 where I come from for tea.
That's right. Tea, 75 cents.
Oh, tea. Got it.
Don't mention it. Really. Don't.
All right, the Wind Blew Inn, occupying where the Under Armour store is when we filmed this at Michigan and Ohio, was operated by a teenage flapper. She might have been 20 by the time this picture was taken, who went by the name of Lillian Colley. Her real name was Lillian Rosenfeld. Well, at the time it was Lillian Lieberman. She had gotten married at some point to a guy named Collier who was already out of the picture, I think, but Lillian Colley also might have just been the name that she went by. People who dove into Bohemia in Chicago tended to take new names for themselves. Now, the place was an old gasoline station, but she turned it into a tea room trying to recreate the vibe of Greenwich Village here in Chicago, but was known to be quoted as saying things like, "Oh, art, where art thou?" There was also said to have an obscene painting inside of the place, which she said was a futuristic painting of a silo. Presumably, it looked like a dick. So here she is with her aide, Virginia Harrison, who has generally been assumed to be more than just her friend and business partner. But whatever it was, it didn't really last. The two of them had a falling out. The Wind Blew In was torched, almost certainly by Virginia, who apparently got pregnant that same night as she ran off with a group of bank robbers, one of whom was one of the people who had helped terrible Tommy O'Connor escape, and then went off to be like the business manager of a group of bank robbers for a few years. We can only trace her a few years beyond this. That's something I really ought to be looking up over in the newspaper archives. Shouldn't I? I should. But here's Lillian at the Dill Pickle Club, a few blocks north of here, up over by Bughouse Square. This was a place where people would give speeches, they would act in plays. She is here acting in a play with, I believe, Max Bodenheim, just pretending to flirt outrageously. Now, for the longest time, her whereabouts after about 1924 were not really known. 1924, she gave a big speech about why flappers represented a new era of freedom for women, not an era of licentiousness and the end of civilization like old people were saying at the time. The same old people who nowadays would be passing around pictures of these kids who are always on their phones, which they're showing off on their phones. So she had just kind of disappeared. The Wind Blew In. They tried to restart as a known queer hangout, a known hangout for all kinds of geniuses and artists and people who played what they called syncopated blues music on the piano. They put that in quotes in the paper. But the one on LaSalle Street was too nice. So when people were paying 75 cents for tea, they wanted a little bit of dirt with it. She disappeared off of the record for the longest time. Finally, when I did the book Just Kill Me, I wanted the main character in that book to become obsessed with Lillian Colley, and I kind of had to find her. Finally found a mention of her mother's last name, which led me to her as Lillian Lebrun, found some other stuff, put some pieces together, and eventually got in touch with her son. I'm not sure if he's still around now, but her son sent me a picture of her from 1976. He could not quite clear up whether she and Virginia were more than friends, but he said that would have explained a lot, and also suggested another woman that she might have had an affair with, not to mention the silent film actress Irene Castle, with whom she was very close. She certainly wasn't upset when her son came out as gay in the 1970s. So here she is in the 1970s. I absolutely love this shot of her. But let's move on. We'll stick around in Chicago. We're just going to move up about 10 years after this. There's a big interesting comment there. Tried to name my kitten after her. That is wonderful. Love it. Let's move on. We're going to go zapping through the space. And I left that in and I should not have done. Bowling ball of death. It is time for these important messages in Saturday morning in 1984. So down here in Chicago, about 10 years after the days of the Wind Blew In the 1930s, down here in Bronzeville, which has now got this developer modernism establishment where the Starbucks is, but was once at 35th and State, the home of the Cabin Inn. It was at one time at 35th and State, another time at 33rd and State, in any case, long gone. But it was called the Cabin Inn and billed itself as the oddest nightclub in town. No cover, no minimum, all new show, the oddest in town. Dorothy Scott and her Cabin Inn rhythms with Big Ivy and Jack Hardy. Now, this was a black drag club in Chicago back in the 1930s. Here's an ad from back when they were at one of their other locations, the Cabin Inn, also known as the Cozy Cabin. Oddest nightclub in town featuring the world's foremost female impersonators. Valda Gray in the breezy brevities of 1939 with Joanne Crawford, Billy McAllister, Carol Lee, Francis D. Singer, and so on. Breakfast dance every Thursday. There's still drag breakfast in the city to this day. Not to mention floor shows nightly. Call Calumet 4972. Now, there's actually a photograph from the inside of this place, which is really fairly remarkable. One of the bigger performers of the place was a guy by the name of Dick Barrows, who performed under the drag name of Sepia Mae West. Now, Sepia Mae West was her better known performance, but she did record under her male name, Dick Barrows, this song Down at the Cabin Inn, which also remarkably survives. So here is the theme song to the Cabin Inn.
If you want to have a real good time, clean place to dance and dine, may producing shows that's grand, Tinsley with his red hot band. You hear Hot Nuts sang by Stella, the way she croons is really mellow. Waitress keeps a smile at please, bartenders mixing drinks with ease. There's Joe and Lem, they sing and dance. Cute chorus girls put you in a trance. The boss and wife are very nice, and that's the place they don't have fights. There's Jimmy singing his jazz, jazz. Impersonators do the rest. You buy whiskey and a blend. You don't need much dough to spend. There's the best of class, brand new friends, down at the Cabin Inn. Oh yes, down at the Cabin Inn. Yes, I know. Down at the Cabin Inn. There's Jimmy singing his yes, yes. Impersonators do the rest. You buy whiskey and a blend. You don't need much dough to spend. There's the best of class, the brand new friends, down at the Cabin Inn. Oh yes, down at the Cabin Inn.
All right, Dick Barrow, everybody. Also known under his drag performance name and persona as Sepia Mae West at the Cabin Inn, black drag club in Chicago back here in the 1930s. Let us move on a little bit. Of course, it would not be a Pride Month time travel pub crawl if we did not go. But first of all, there was a place in Chicago back in the 1950s, in the 50s and 60s. There was a place right where the St. Valentine's Day Massacre happened, called Volleyballs at the Scarlet Ribbons. One was a gay bar, one was a lesbian bar, in the terminology they would have used at the time. Just a little bit later than that, here on Christopher Street in New York City, was, of course, Stonewall. Here we go. So here it is, everybody. The Stonewall is still in operation and probably much nicer to be in now. In the 1960s, the place did not even have running water. They just had a tub of water for washing off the glasses. The place was not particularly sanitary. New York in general in 1969 was not particularly sanitary. But this is the kind of crowd that was hanging out there in the 1960s, which was considered fairly shocking at the time. Allen Ginsberg wandered in the night that things finally got too heated between the regulars there, who often were people who had no place else to go, and the cops. Now, there was a riot there that lasted a couple of days. It's very difficult to get good information about it. One thing I heard it described as it's whatever we need it to be at a given time. So it's tough to get good information about. Really, we have people that we credit today with throwing the first brick, but that person never claimed that she did herself. etc. And it's tough because everybody who was there at the time during the course of the riots was basically stoned. So that didn't make a ton of news at the time. It was on page 13 of the Des Moines Tribune that the homosexuals and the police clashed in New York City. The New York Daily News had a very flippant article, "Homo Nest Raided, Queen Bees Are Stinging Mad." Don't even know how to say. Newsday ran a story about it, saying about 2 a.m. the helmeted tactical force showed up and sang their song, "We are the village girls, we wear our hair in curls, we wear our dungarees to hide our bony knees." It got a little bit more obscene than this, too, and quoted a blonde boy with makeup and pocketbook looking ecstatic, saying, "I've never had so much excitement in my life." Well, all right. So Allen Ginsberg himself came upon the scene a little while into it and thought, well, hey, even as a gay man himself, he had never thought to think of gay rights as an actual cause. It was first mentioned really in Chicago at all a few months later when he came to Chicago for a reading, and it mentioned that coming up sooner, such treats his poem Allen Ginsberg, fresh from the police raid on Stonewall Inn in Greenwich Village, which really this was a few months after the fact, so not exactly fresh from, but that had been the last time Allen Ginsberg had been in the news in any case. Let's move on a little bit. While we're in New York, let's head uptown to the Upper West Side just a couple of years later and check out one of my favorite buildings. The Ansonia Hotel. The Ansonia Hotel, which on a recent trip there had a pride flag waving. I've been drinking too much tonight. The Ansonia Hotel, originally built by a guy named William Earl Dodge Stokes, who turns up in a Chicago story too. When he divorced one of his wives, he tried to prove that she had been one of the butterflies at the Everleigh Club. Built the place. It had a farm up on the roof, so residents got free eggs. Residents such as Babe Ruth, who moved in here in the 1920s. At one point, he was shot by Lillian Graham, and I can't remember her last name, Conrad. Lillian Graham and Ethel Conrad, I thought so. He had been having an affair with the two of them, one or two of them. They tried to blackmail him. He wasn't really going for it, so instead they shot him, and then ended up going on stage under the name The Shooting Showgirls, playing a song called The Mysterious Rag. We'll play just a bit of that here. Let me grab the sheet.
Did you hear it? What? Were you near it? No. If you weren't, then you've yet to fear it. Yes. Once you've met it, well, you'll regret it. What? Just because you never will forget it. If you ever wake up from your dreaming, eyes gleaming, then if suddenly you take a screaming, that's it, that's what? That mysterious rag. While awake or while you're slumbering, you're saying, keep playing that mysterious rag. Are you listening? Yes, keep listening. Look, they're whistling that mysterious rag. Pinky, ever melodious, mysterious rag. That mysterious rag. While awake or while you're slumbering, you're saying, keep saying that mysterious rag. Are you listening? Are you listening? Look. They're whistling that mysterious rag. Freaky, ever melodious, mysterious rag.
All right, Layla found me the sheet music for that at a thrift store right here in Chicago. Oh, very, very cool. So, any case, the Ansonia Hotel, as we know from around here, from some of our other tours around here, eventually in the 1970s, the basement became the Continental Baths. Advertised right here, it was a bathhouse and all that implies. featuring performances by Bette Midler, often accompanied by Barry Manilow, who would play piano for her wearing nothing but a towel. So here, everybody, if you'd ever wondered what the big deal about Bette Midler is, this is a very choppy video that happens to exist from inside of this place. But if you need Mysterious Rag out of your head, too, here is Bette Midler doing I Shall Be Released.
That every distance is not near.
see, where did I put my own video? Here I am. All right, Bette Midler in the basement of the Ansonia Hotel of the Continental Baths. In the 1980s, it became a swingers club. Let's stick around in New York City. Let's go to... these other two I got here aren't necessarily specifically queer themed, but I know people who hung out here at the Limelight, built in an old 1852 church by Richard Upjohn, who also designed Trinity Church. Where am I in here? Here I am. Interior of the Limelight was redone in the 1980s and 90s by Edward Geiger to turn into a goth club. And I just saw today, I thought it would be a good day to put this on, that Peter Lorre just passed his 120th birthday, or would have. So here's my friend Tom Smith with When I Grow Up, I Want to Be Peter Lorre. Very goth-themed sort of thing, I think.
The curse of my existence is the heroes that I see. And I can't do much for them, I'm not doing very much for me. I've dealt with COVID-19 from spring through Halloween. No movie star or summer blockbuster to help me through this clucking fuster. No Scarlet as Black Widow, no wondrous Gal Gadot. We've got Mulan and Bill and Ted and Borat. It's like a punch to the throat. No, I'll look back in time to a gentleman sublime whose wit and style are seldom mentioned. But never fail to attract attention. When I grow up, I want to be Peter Lorre. I want to snivel and sneer in a nasal whine. I want to cringe and curse and maybe threaten worse. And if that doesn't work, I've got a laugh that'll petrify your spine. Who wants to be a handsome, stuffy playboy? Who wants to face the bad guys all alone? The last thing that I need is to be a romantic lead. I want to grow up to be Peter Lorre and steal the girl from my own. When I grow up, I want to be Peter Lorre. I'll tell Nemo where Kirk Douglas went to hide. Nemo, that is to say Captain Nemo, played by James Mason, not Nemo the clownfish, because that would just be silly. Now, I didn't mind old Kirk, but Ned Land is such a jerk. And between a mad scientist and the jock, who would you want on your side? I want to sell the bird to Sidney Greenstreet. I want to cheat with Vincent Price's wife. And if I need more kicks, I'll make Mr. Moto Flicks. I want to grow up to be Peter Lorre and have a wonderful life. I could have starred in that too. Every time the dirge bell rings, a little devil gets its wings. When I grow up, I want to be Peter Lorre. I'll stalk the streets of Dusseldorf and Paris, waiting for some dame who has no sense of shame to foolishly make that one mistake and hang around with me. I want to whistle music from old operas as I am slowly strangling some preteen. I long for days gone by and that winking, blinking eye. I want to grow up to be Peter Lorre. You pretty boys, you're going to be sorry. I'll be the best Peter Lorre you've ever seen. Is it too late to audition for Gollum?
Friend Tom Smith, everybody. I've been seeing that guy at film conventions for, over 20 years now. Great guy, absolutely a great guy. Good person to have in your life. You know what? Why don't we just go bounce back against him a little bit? And we're going to close out this particular performance before we get to the post-show hang with the Dead Ringers on a song for Pride Month.
Life is a funny thing. Sometimes you laugh and sing. Sometimes you grumble and cuss. But either way, what do we care? We got us. We have our ups and downs, our shares of smiles and frowns, but through it all we don't fuss. 'Cause we got a special thing going. We got us. Some people like to go through their life single. Aw, that wouldn't suit us at all. Why sing a melody as a soliloquy when it's more fun to be harmonizing? People, they say we are crazy the way we are, that we won't even discuss. 'Cause what we got they can't smother. We trade our life for no other. They've only got one another, but we got us.
All right, everybody. So that is our time travel pub crawl. 2 weeks in a row of time travel pub crawls. I hope you are all right. I am doing all right, well, at least as long as I am drinking anyway. But all right, we'll quick plug the upcoming events. On June 29th, we will be at Graceland Cemetery for Graceland Cemetery Chicago Stories, Symbols, and Secrets. That is a walking tour. AdamChicago.com has the tickets, or you can get special deals on being on Patreon. July 7th, next weekend, we will be back at Rose Hill Cemetery. And what do we do next week is going to be July 4th. Have we ever done a tour on July 4th? I don't think that we have. We'll have to come up with something interesting to do for that. I haven't quite figured out what yet, but we're going to do something. I will have to figure that out tomorrow while I work on next week's Patreon post and Find a Grave Friday. All of that is coming up, so thanks a lot for joining me when things are going strange in this country. I am happy to always be here for you, so thanks a lot for joining me. Check out Eli's Venmo is Eli Selzer. I am at Adam Chicago, and let's put the Benny Goodman back on, and we will just hang out. Pop this up to the top. What was that a picture of? Grandma Bell in her pride outfit. All right, everybody, here we are as Benny. Mike, how many pub crawls in a row can I do, really? I am hopped up on Mountain Dew. I, for one, am. I do aim to be a distraction on times when such things are needed. Happy Pride to you, Jordana. All right, let's put Belle back up here. Pride earrings. Jordan, I hope you can too, but I bet that tasted good again. Oh, thank you, Cynthia. 2 parts Coke and 1 part root beer and ta-da, Dr. Pepper. You know, there's a lot of interesting ways to mix up something that sounds like Dr. Pepper in the end. It tastes like Dr. Pepper. Miles, you want to come back up? I just heard a Miles meowing at me. Well, here's this guy. I understand the big is just letting Trump talk out of his ass with nobody to stop him. But you know what? It's still 5 months away from the election. People will forget all about this shit. Aw, here he comes. Hopping right up onto the high shelf. He likes to get up high, don't you, Miles? You like to be high. There's a kite by then. I need myself some more indica. Yeah, Eric, that's what I was thinking. We could do David Kennison, William Duvall, and Noah Merrick, the three supposed Revolutionary War veterans buried here in Chicago. Maybe cover a couple that are out in the suburbs. I don't know if I ever got footage of their tours. I know we went out there for Find a Grave. The ones that are buried kind of by the airport.
And here's another tune that they'll be playing as long as we dance.
That's probably what it'll be. I could throw in some of the footage that I got from like Trinity and St. Paul's as well. He's just hanging out up here. Yeah, I love how awesome people are in here too. We do get the occasional troll. They've never quite gone over the line though. One of them has gone awfully close. Generally, I haven't had to ban people here. I just make it known that this is not a place for that. The Patreon is excellent. Definitely recommend the Patreon. Good way to stay supporting and keeping the lights on with us. I'm a freelancer after all. I got a couple of gigs last week, and I'll be with him again in a couple of months doing Frank Lloyd Wright tours. These kind of things are sporadic. But now that I've got it down, one of these days I'll go out there and film all of these things. So we can do at least like a virtual Frank Lloyd Wright's Oak Park in Chicago. But I was more interested, what I found I was focusing on more was not so much the architecture or Wright himself, because I'm pretty good at separating art from artists, but man, that guy does not make it easy on you. But just like looking up the people who hired this guy. Mostly it was people who he was in the golf club with. But there was at least one guy who we will be talking about for sure on the Rose Hill tour coming up soon. You might have seen him on Find a Grave Friday the other day. He seems like just the kind of guy who would have hired Frank Lloyd Wright. Yeah, Karen, that's what I'm thinking. It'll be something to do with like Chicago and the Revolutionary War. There's only so much. There weren't a lot of people here engaging in hostilities during the time of the Revolutionary War. There's like one possible battle that is said to have taken place kind of by here, but not really. Next trivia night. Good question, Bob. Trivia nights are tricky. They're very difficult to do. Thanks to everybody who's popping in, everybody who's putting in donations. I especially recommend joining the Patreon. The donation that keeps on giving and gives you all kinds of stuff. You get a good value on that Patreon. I especially am intrigued by the post today, the deep research post, which is all about Jack Probosco, who owned the house where John Dillinger had plastic surgery done, and jumped out of the window of the Clark Adams building while being interrogated by the FBI. What's especially intriguing is they gave the address of where the inquest was going to be in the undertaking parlor, the funeral home, and there's no other evidence of a funeral home being in that building. Just around the corner from the Clark and Adams building on Dearborn, and I found like nothing to indicate that there was a funeral home there. Or almost nothing anyway. Now, Gene, they're not allowing Trump to interrupt, but they're also not fact-checking him until afterwards when everybody has switched to watching Columbo reruns. But, you know, it's still 4.5 months till the election. 4.5 months and a sentencing away. Catch your troubles by the toe. If it hollers, let it go, let it fly away. Alright, I'm just sobering myself on up here.
It's the saying high and low. Hear it everywhere you go, any time of day. Big Ben rings in.
And otherwise, is there any work for a historian overseas, you think? I don't know.
Even Mr. Crosby thinks it. Eeny, meeny, miny, moe. Catch the trouble by the toe. If it hollers, let it go. Let it fly away.
That's just it, Evelyn. If I were watching that, I would be throwing stuff for sure. But there's basically nothing that can happen in that debate that would make me vote for Donald Trump. See, I usually don't even name him on here, but my God. Now, Chris, we've definitely had people start lighting the fireworks around here. People always start a few days early. And generally, even when I disagree with Biden, as I occasionally do, I don't feel that his position comes from a place of meanness. Well, you know how he debates. He doesn't debate, he just bullies and goes for loudness, which tends to work. Play Itsy Naughty Pants. Aviva, I do not know what that is, but I'm interested. I would be pulling an Elvis on the television, for sure. And then again, I got my issues with the left as well. There's certain points where the far right and the far left are shaking hands behind the back. One of those is sometimes the left forgets to say Zionists and just says Jews. But Karen, for those of you with in-laws like this, that's why I try to make this a safe space for all of us. Now and then we get one particular troll anyway, which is very close to getting banned. Thank you, Benjamin, for the donation. And hey, you know, if you want to listen to anything, I was just hip to the album No Other by Gene Clark from The Byrds. His solo album that kind of tanked his career, but it is a fantastic album. It is a gorgeous album. Gene Clark, No Other, 1974. Listen, it is fantastic. Excellent album. I also enjoyed the Charlie XCX and Lord collab. And of course, Chapel Rowan. And hey, I've been talking about Chapel Rowan here for a long time. I can show you my most played from 2021 has Chapel Rowan on it. It's been fun watching her get this big, but I hope she's okay. It's got to be just spinning her head like crazy. I hope she has a good support structure. There's nothing that can prepare you for that. Made some donations during the musical interlude. If you don't want to donate to me tonight, donate to Dark Brandon over there. I'll just say it quite specifically. We all know where I stand around here.
This half hour of rhythm was presented by the Raja Rhythm. Benny Goodman and his orchestra playing for you from the Joseph Urban Room of the Congress
Artwork from
Hotel
Mystericon. Haven't
in
gotten that far
downtown
yet. Do we
Chicago.
know if we have the Joseph Urban Room
This
yet?
is the National Broadcast.
I kind of need to hear about all of this stuff. Beth, I don't see how your mom could date such a person. It'd just be weird. Let's rewind and listen a little bit more. We're going to switch over to a different tune now. We'll switch over to Blue Skies, the one that we normally play. I just kind of feel like hanging out right now.
Presenting Benny Goodman and his music.
Bridget Calls Me Baby. I'll look that up. Cool. I haven't really latched onto an album particularly this year, like I did with the second Samia album last year, the first Samia album the year before that, or Antarctica Vespucci in 2019.
Benny Goodman, ladies and gentlemen, the man with the torrid clarinet and the even more torrid
Look at
band. who
Bridget
pervades
Calls
the
Me
torrid
Baby. I'll
rhythms
type
all
that in
danceable
right now,
in the
so I
urban
don't
room of the
lose it.
Congress Hotel in Chicago. And first of all, one of Irving Berlin's greatest hits, Blue Skies.
I'll just put in a couple of seconds now, but I'm digging it. If Plenty of Men Can Make You Laugh, I can add a couple of sentences to that. Other things Plenty of Men can do. I won't go there. I'll just pour a little more bourbon. Pop. I'm just about done with this decade series, a 10-year bourbon from Heaven's Door. Like, I haven't given Bob Dylan enough of my money, but hey, nothing I would rather spend my money on than more Bob Dylan concerts. So I have made some donations tonight. Still casting around. I sent Arcadia 5 or 6 ideas for a new project. Cindy, I very likely saw that person then. School groups went to $1 Million Quartet quite a bit. Fun show, that. I've also taken school groups to Sun Records so you could actually see where that took place. I just saw Dylan cover a Hank Williams song. I've only seen him do that once before. But the second night, the concert I went to, on the last minute, he did Stella Blue by the Grateful Dead, a song that I have been playing to death the last few weeks. All of a sudden, listening to that song late one night, I was just like, thinking about the song and what it means, and now somehow the songs that we hear are just songs of our own, and everything bad that happens is just part of that song that will one day make you see that this is all a dream. I was just overwhelmed with this sense of calm and peace listening to that song. I was a little high at the time, but then to see Dylan cover it was just awesome. Well, you know what I say we do at Trump? He keeps telling this anecdote about how he would rather be electrocuted than get eaten by a shark, and I say we make him prove it. Karen, I hope so. Well, Megan, he did a whole a session with Johnny Cash. The one that he put out on one of his albums is Girl from the North Country. From his period, he was singing like this. Have you heard the new Wonder Horse song called Midas? No, I haven't. That sounds good. I don't know Wonder Horse. Thank you for the music recommendation.
Alan Ward singing With All My
But,
Heart.
put that on too. It's also new release night, so about 11 o'clock there'll be some more stuff. Diane, that must be very interesting, an audiobook about Dylan's spirituality. We really have no idea what his spirituality is these days. He's occasionally seen at synagogues. He still sings songs from his Christian period. So. That's his own business. Diana probably read it. Also, somebody gave me a book called Prophecy in the Christian Era that would say that Dylan had a vision of a Messiah coming aboard a white ship. And that's all over the songs. It was a very strange book. Somebody who sold it to me in line for a general admission show. He inspires some very strange people. Maybe I can believe it, but a conservative think tank just put out a thing today noting that undocumented immigrants commit crimes at about a 40% lower rate than native-born Texans. So if Texas wants to lower the crime rate, keep all the immigrants, kick out the Texans. Mexican-American War was one of the stupidest things we ever did anyway. Diane, I have never gotten all the way through Tarantula, to be honest. I've got it, I've never gotten all the way through it. What have the Dems done for Social Security? Not destroyed it. Have they saved it? No. Have they not destroyed it, which is something that Republicans have threatened to do over and over quite deliberately? It's very hard for presidents to build things. It's a lot easier for them to destroy things. I don't expect miracles out of a president. Like, people send me a list of all the things Biden could do to get young voters back. Like, that's by Congress, that's Congress, that's Congress, Supreme Court would nix that, Supreme Court would nix that. The number one thing right now is the Supreme Court.
Jenny Walk.
Nothing is more important than the Supreme Court. If Trump puts more people on the Supreme Court, everything progressives claim to want is pretty much off the table. Right now, most of what the Democrats could do to help Social Security, the current Supreme Court would probably nix anyway. Now, Maria, I've got a song called Brett Kavanaugh Sucked My Dick Last Night. It includes the line, the Supreme Court is no longer a legitimate body, but my body is legitimately tight. I'll mention that while I'm drinking. Remember, that is the scary thing. Right now, it's not about what the Constitution says, it's what 5 people say it is. I will say the only person that I saw running last cycle around who had an idea that was an interesting idea for what could be done about the Supreme Court was Buttigieg. he had an idea that there should be, each party should pick X number of justices, and the other justices should be picked by the sitting justices, by unanimous agreement. That's an interesting idea. There's more details to it than that. But the current system is just a mess. Also, not to mention the Senate. There's absolutely no way that Wyoming and Montana should be able to outvote California on anything.
And they all loved it.
But
They
let's
all
not
loved
get into
it.
this tonight. Let's listen to Benny Goodman.
And now another
Did I tell you
one
guys
being made.
about how my grandfather was going around telling everybody that the Titanic was going to sink? It's true. They made him leave the theater before they got to the part where the Titanic sank. I am a dad, I'm allowed to make dad jokes. And you know, my research assistant requested that we look up some Titanic stuff. Because we were close to that time period. I'm like, yeah, let's see how they reported that in Chicago. And it was fascinating, as it turned out. As one of the ideas I've pitched is a book on how the Titanic was first reported. It is tricky because that has attracted so many very dedicated researchers and hobbyists. Just last night, I tried to read the debates on what wireless telegrams were and were not received and what would have happened with them. And it is an endless rabbit hole. And the bottom line is we don't know, but we can back up and just look at how things were reported. And I would really love to find confirmation that John Jacob Astor IV said, "I ordered ice, but this is ridiculous." I doubt that's true, but it is the kind of thing he would have said, and there are a number of first-hand accounts that he was trying to keep people calm by making jokes. Sarah, more power to you, being an election judge. That is important. I applaud you for that, and it is going to be dangerous this time. I'm really trying not to veer into this tonight. It's hard for me to think that I could have anything original to say about the Titanic, but also, as I said earlier, it said right on John Jacob Astor's Wikipedia page that the New York Times article was all about, the New York American article was all about him, and then it mentioned at the end that 1,800 other people had died. Whereas really it looked like this. Definitely there was some outside reporting on John Jacob Astor. And this interesting mock-up they'd come up with about what it looked like.
From the Joseph Urban Room of the Congress Hotel in downtown
But no,
Chicago.
it would only
Now,
refer to
Benny
the
Goodman's arrangement
subhead,
of The Bugle Call Rang.
ignoring the headline and the article itself completely. Kristen, quite possibly the same. There's going to be a Bob Dylan tour in the UK, supposedly, around that time period. Be a good time to be there, I think. But you know what? We are still Chicago. We will always be Chicago. Yeah, Karen, it's the best they could do based on sketchy wireless reports that were coming in at the time. Other people were still reporting that the Titanic was in tow and that everybody had been saved. And there's a lot of debate, like, was that just crossed wires? Was the White Star Line holding off the news? And we don't really know. Generally, it is agreed that they got it mixed up with reports about another tanker that was that had run out of coal and was now in tow. Elaine, sorry to hear that. I can't fix Facebook's things, I'm afraid. That was one of my finds in the archives yesterday. Here's another. Styles of hats. Tag yourself. Maids and millinery. Which hat are you? Are you demure? Dazzling? Something that I can't read, or vivacious? What a graphic this is. I love this. This is from 1914. While looking up some other stuff. There was also this graphic that I loved. Just the look on this dude's face. Let's zoom in on this. These are all out of the Chicago American. I'm the guy on the right, definitely. Or this one, unless you've got this up on your television set. These are stock characters from love stories. The peasant girl loved by a duke. The stenographer. The something girl, too small for me. Society girl. The athlete. The simple country girl. The mysterious creature. The untamed mountain girl. The heroine of the Overland. The bathing girl. The princess. And the modern little Broadway girl. Which one are you? Or which one would I go for? Untamed Mountain Girl, for sure.
Benny Goodman's own arrangement. Now, the popular tune, Thanks
Jordana, no, probably not at the normal library, but throw me an email. I will send you the graphics. I had a really, there's some kind of problem with the files that I get off of the scanner. Like I tried to get, you might remember this picture. Let me find this here. I tried to get some proper scans of some drawings that I've only taken pictures of off of the microfilm screens before. Of the wickedest district. We've got this long section where vice and crime reign supreme, and this inside view of a State Street vice den. The scans aren't really that much better than taking pictures off of the screen, really.
Down Harlem Way, they're all trucking. And here's Helen Ward to tell you all about her. Trucking.
Yeah, they look like very fancy vice dens. I've been to vice dens. I used to work for Weird Chicago Tours. They never seem that fancy. I mean, I've never been to a vice den. Because good old-fashioned sports bars for me. If anybody from the Mystericon committee could let me know all of the details, where's the hotel this year, etc. I got an event planner lined up who's going to help me put together some cool stuff for it. I still got to deal with the boat. We want to make this an especially cool Mystericon this year. I got some ideas. We will all do La Mysterious Ride. Yes, Karen, a wretched hive of scum and villainy, just like the Mos Eisley spaceport. I feel like there's more wretched hives of scum and villainy than Mos Eisley based on what we see there.
Came a graze and sang to Harlem now. Everybody's trucking.
Joanne, I hear you there. I don't know that I've been on one of your job sites before. But that sounds about right. Sarah, lots of people are trying homesteading these days, but no, I gotta live in the city.
Benny Goodman presents On the Alamo.
Yeah, Octavio, I sent an email about it, but the contract never got signed. They're not easy to work with. But every other boat, I wouldn't make a profit. I wouldn't even be breaking even, most likely. It will be the Congress currently working on the contract should know more soon. Thank you, Alexandra. I'd love it if we could get that room that was the Joseph Urban room adjacent to the one we were in last year. That'd be really neat. I am polishing off this 10-year Heaven's Door bourbon, but I'm keeping the bottle. Maybe we'll just get a bus and we'll do the Frank Lloyd Wright stuff this year, too. I did find some really cool stuff. It's a very cool tour. It's an afternoon kind of thing. We can't do it for everybody, but maybe I can just be doing bus tours all day long. Working on getting that room excellent. We are going to have a dance party. If we get that, we are going to put on... We're going to go full-on radio show, I think. I shouldn't say too much. I'm going to plan this out with my event planner who has more experience with this kind of thing. I'm going to do this up right. One of my favorite lines in a movie, I think it was Radioland Murders or something like that. The guy says, I love radio, but I love a good pee even more. My brother and I watched that like back to back with a guy, with this movie after there was a guy who like got out of the car to go pee and ended up getting murdered. Like, I love sex, but I love a good pee even more. Megan, yes. Diane also, yes. I may not be able to get the boat for 2 cruises this year.
Eeny, meeny, miny, mo, and we stay right in the urban room of the Congress Hotel in Chicago and dance some more to
Yeah, we're keeping the
Benny
stream
Goodman and his
going.
orchestra, and hear Helen Ward sing Eeny, meeny, miny, mo.
I cannot watch a debate. It's not a presidential debate if 45 is involved. It's just some rambling lunatic. Looks like Biden is not showing up his best, but it also looks like Trump's getting enough things that we can cut into commercials. I see that Trump is claiming that he never said people who died in the war were suckers and losers, despite John Kelly saying so. We shall see. Octavio, like I know what's going on at Area 51. Possibly I've seen too much. Hangar 18, I know too much. Donna is bringing back a zine after 30 years. Hell yeah. The hollers, let it go, let it fly away. You know, these are large files, but I think I can send them all to you here. Let me see if they work as actual size. That's 39 megabytes. Sent. Huge wind gust in Denver. I love the way we get interesting news out here.
And we'll let the title speak for itself.
Ballet
Benny Goodman
dress from
presenting Mad
Nutcracker. Ooh, a fancy dress ball, yes. Okay, Besh is coming on Twitch from the future. Their wife will have 2 kids with their neighbor. Okay. You happen to have like a sports almanac on you there, Besh. And that's what the new sound was, but Chuck Berry had already released Maybelline by the time of the Enchantment of the Sea Dance. So he's on the other end of that phone going, yeah, I already wrote that song. Devil Baby Resurrection Mary H. Eternal Silence cosplay. That should be an easy one. Get yourself a Henry Hobson Richardson costume and just go like this. Autorat, sorry about that. We are in the post-show hangout now. We did the time travel earlier on. I know where you're coming from. Time travel is like $150 is like enough to buy a thing of yogurt, right? Oh yeah, we'll be covering Johan. I don't know what, they haven't given me a date on the Johan Hawk book yet, but they seem like they're moving pretty quickly on it. But it is turned in. Part of why I got these new scans is to finish off that book. Well then, Sarah, I started off on a little bit of bourbon at pregame, then I made the Mountain Dew cocktail with Mountain Dew orange curacao and jalapeno limeade. Now I have switched back to finishing off my bottle of bourbon, which makes room in the closet, which makes room in the pantry, the shelves, for another one. Marie, good point. There are a lot of Maries in that story. One of the trickier things in the book was the puzzle of what to call everybody. So all of the women had 2 first names, often more than that, and at least one of them was usually Marie. Or Mary, or Maria. Helen Maria, but not a lot of Maria.
And here's a short encore portion of
Yes,
Benny
love
Goodman's
it.
forthright invitation at the beginning of his program.
Now, the official theme is probably going to be 1936 radio show. But, you know, by all means, dress like you're going to the wickedest districts. Dress like you are a stock character in a 1912 love story. This was sandwiched between Titanic coverage. Or one of these guys. Or one of these charming hats.
Chapin presenting the music of
Alright,
Benny
very good.
from
I
the
still feel like hanging
Congress
around.
Hotel.
I like you guys better than I like scrolling social media.
Benny Goodman presents On the Alamo.
Is everything frozen here now? I'm not frozen. The comment stopped a minute ago, maybe because I stopped talking because I was stuck on my phone. Us darn Gen Z kids always on our phones. Let me show you guys really quick. I'm gonna show you while Benny plays out. I'll turn the volume down a little. But while Benny is playing out, I'm gonna show you the Chicago skyline thing my mom made that I put up. It was gonna go here in the hallway up above the door, but I feel like it's too busy out in this hall. But we had an empty space open up right here. See that? It's got many of the buildings, also a whole lot of headlines, including one for shawls, shawls, shawls on the end here. Kind of hard to hold the thing up to show. Isn't that cool? Why does my back suddenly hurt from that? And that is in a spot where Miles likes to sit. I've been trying to clear up more space on that. I had some, like, Count Chocula boxes set up there for display. But Miles likes to sit there, so I made more room.
Eeny, meeny, miny, mo, and we stay right in the urban room of the Congress Hotel in Chicago and dance some more to...
I'm afraid the folks are out suffering through the debate
Hear
tonight.
Helen Ward sing, Eeny, meeny, miny, mo.
There's just no way that wasn't going to be painful. Yep, that sounds about right. While I'm at it, I'm going to put away the sheet music that Layla got. I'm always back, you know that. I could, in fact, wander off. I've had a few.
And we'll let
This
the
reflection
title
on the
speak for
window sign
itself.
looks like
Benny Goodman
computer-generated
presenting
censoring.
Mano.
Yes, it kind of does, doesn't it? Yeah. Alright, we'll let Benny close this out. I'm out of booze. But I am, again, while I'm thinking about it, gonna go put away the empty bottle because I do save the heaven's doors. I'll leave you here with my neon and the donation information. This is a longer hangout. Yep. Shining Family Classics, which I have edited down to practically nothing, and now I will make you all say the pledge. We found that guy's grave for Find a Grave, remember? But it's always nice to have a good long hangout. We have occasionally gone past 10 p.m., it's true. Yesterday on an episode that was really, it's more of a clip show really, but there's some new stuff in here. I think I'll just go watch some Beavis and Butthead, as I often do. Debate, social media fallout from debate. I'll be back online until tomorrow night or Friday night when Bob Dylan is back on the stage. Even though it seems to have locked into a set list more or less for this tour. We'll let Benny Goodman finish this up. Miles is being especially cuddly tonight. We always appreciate that. Miles is hanging out over by the fireplace right now. Now, well, you can see that.
And here's a short encore portion of
Virtual marathon all day and all of the night. It'll be a telethon. We'll have the donation buttons up all the time, and operators are standing by. Chris, most likely, yes. It's a much smarter show than is generally given credit for. It's about stupid people. But through them, Mike Judge has made some excellent social commentary over the last 30 years.
We have been presenting the music of Benny Goodman and his orchestra.
Just realized it was 30 years since I went to the Metallica concert the other day.
Michigan Avenue in Chicago. This is the National Broadcast.
But alright, everybody, let me quickly plug upcoming stuff once again so we can all hang out again. June 29th, that is this Saturday, the day after tomorrow. Graceland Cemetery, Chicago Stories, Symbols, and Secrets, an in-person walking tour. Tickets at adamchicago.com. And then the following Sunday, we will be at Rose Hill Cemetery. I found some new stuff at Rose Hill Cemetery. I always find the new stuff at Rose Hill Cemetery. Lots of... I should really do a book there, shouldn't I? I don't know if they want me to, but July 4th, I think we're going to try to do something next week about the Revolutionary War connections in Chicago, which is kind of tricky business, because there weren't a lot of people living in Chicago at the time of the Revolutionary War. Certainly nothing anybody was going to be worth fighting over, but you know. So, all right, have a good evening, everybody. I'm going to go turn on some television, just kind of ride out this buzz. Have a good night, everybody. So stay safe, stay strong, stay positive. You got to stay positive and stay spooky.